So in our next section for FAQs, we are touching upon questions that we have received on the topics of empathy and user research. So the first question that we have in our repository is how to empathize. What is empathy and things around it? Sir.
Empathy. So let's take an example straight away. Okay. So let's say you're a teacher. You're used to teaching. Empathy is go quickly sit in that student's chair and watch the world of a student through the student's eyes. It can be an eye-opening experience for the teacher, saying, oh, okay, this is what they're going through. Okay, it could be, suppose there's a slow student, back by chance, you can go sit there and see. This is a very, very quick example of what empathy involves. It's about putting yourself in someone else's shoes. It's difficult because it's very difficult to find out what is going on through their eyes. So that's just the point of view. But now you have to understand their feelings and what is it that they're really thinking, what are they trying to achieve, and a whole host of things. If you were to sum it up, it is understanding and feeling what your customer or user is going through. I gave you a teacher-student example. That would be my suggestion. Try to do one quick little activity and try to find out what are they understanding, what are they feeling about the situation. What are you understanding and what are you feeling about their situation?
And this will happen through maybe active listening, maybe observing what their general body language is, what their behavior is. Of course, you can't always just blankly sit there. So there might be also user interviews that, you'll have to, conduct. And there will be other tools. Are there other tools also related to how to empathize?
So in empathy, we prescribe, we've seen this in the course already, it's this customer journey mapping. It's a visual storytelling technique to communicate what the user is doing, right? So again, to sum up what Sukrat said, it's about collecting stories from your user, and that could really enhance. And I would strongly suggest you to look at the user and observe, because that has the highest value according to us, our own experience, is that observing somebody, visual, and getting their story, okay, and then communicating it visually and through stories. So visual stories, this is our currency in customer journey mapping. That's the strongest way to capture this empathy according to us.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. So the next question that we have goes slightly away from how we have just suggested to empathize, because it pertains to asking questions to the actual end user. So beyond observing, there are instances that we have to, in fact, actually talk to the customer or talk to the end user and understand what exactly they are looking for, or what exactly is their what is the trouble exactly. So while doing this, while empathizing, what are the questions that one has to ask, or is there like the standard pattern of questions which will lead us to answers?
You can go with a prepared questionnaire. So lots of my students do this have a standard questionnaire. However, be ready to listen and be curious. Those are the two things that I would say. Listen and be curious about their life. They'll be very happy to share. So you get curious. Why did you do that? Oh, that's interesting. What's up with that? So try to leave it as open-ended as you can. Yes, the questionnaire can guide you, but that's just that. It's a guide. Okay. Be curious. Keep listening. Keep observing. And that's when you'll really get some gold nuggets in your interviews, in your interaction with the customers. Interview is one part of it, but if you can observe your customer, that's the best way. Be flexible, or sometimes you may end up in places that you really didn't have that in your mind. It's okay. Just keep going, following, seeing where things are going. Let's see that.
So one last question we have in terms of empathy and user research is one word that rhymes very closely with empathy, that is sympathy. So the question that we have here is, what's the difference between empathy and sympathy, and how does that relate to the empathize phase?
Okay, that's a great question. Example is when you open, say, let's say a newspaper or a news website, right? You read somebody's story and you're like, oh, poor thing. That is sympathy. Okay, you really feel for that person. That's how we are all wired, right? So when somebody is going through a really tough situation, we feel sorry for them. Empathy is coupled with action. You really understand, feel, and you want to do something about it. That propels you into action. And when that action combines with your empathy, which is truly understanding and feeling that, and you're coupling it with action, you have compassion. When somebody says, I have compassion, that person is compassionate. Okay, you must have heard these phrases. It literally means that they not only felt sorry for somebody saying, oh, they're going through such a situation, but it actually that energy has propelled you into action, which has made a positive difference in that person's life that you saw. So that is empathy. Starting point is sympathy. So there's nothing wrong with just sympathy, but if you couple it with empathy and then the action, you get a closed circuit. That's compassion. Oh, total package.
So, while empathizing and how to empathize, I had mentioned that there are multiple tools that we, engage with while being in the empathy phase with a specific customer or a set of customers or users. In that respect, we have a couple of questions related to the customer journey map. That is one of the tools that we use while empathizing. So the first question that comes to us is, what is CJM, or what is customer journey map? And is there a correct way of making a customer journey map?
Like I think in the previous section, I touched upon it. Customer journey map is visual storytelling, right? So we use post-it notes or little notes in which we can talk about, or it could be visual boxes which can talk about what is the story, and we split that into three. There's a before, a during, and after, a 3-act story structure, as I call it. We use that to illustrate what is the experience of our user. So before, during, after is before the customer is trying to do whatever they're trying to do, which is interact with the product. During is when they actually do this, or what are they trying to do with the user, with the product. And then finally, after usage of the product, what do they do? So that in total is the entire story. Now, is there a correct way to do it? It's a storytelling technique. You can have your own technique. This is our prescribed way, but you can have your own flexible way. You need to communicate through stories because that's what everybody understands, through stories, right? So customer journey mapping is one way to do it. And so there's no correct or wrong way. This is a suggested way that you do it before, during, and after. And we express it in the form stories.
Perfect. So one of the things that, in fact, makes me think very hard is we keep on saying that design thinking is an iterative. So that it keeps on going in circles. So the customer journey map, you said there is a before, during, and after. But is there really an after? Is there like an end point that we can define with a CJM while creating it?
Okay, so the customer experience has an endpoint. That is, after they're done with the usage of the product, that's the experience ends there, right? So suppose it's in the service, it's hospitals. You enter, you get your treatment done, and you exit your hospital. That's the end of the customer experience. Right. However, you representing it and you learning insights is a continual process. The more personas, as we call it, the more insights you get out of this process. So this person could be wheeled, right? So it could be a wheelchair. So going back to my hospital example, that experience is very different from somebody who's coming in a stretcher. This is very different from a person who's walking in, right? So these are all different experiences. So there's no end to learning about your customers or users. But there is an end, the finite end, start and an end to your customer's experience. So that's the distinction I want to draw upon here. The learnings are infinite. You can keep learning about your users.
So that also brings us to the end of this chunk of questions from the empathy and the customer journey mapping phase. In the next chunk, we will touch upon questions related to design thinking in practice. There will be a lot of different application-based questions that we'll touch upon. But for this chunk, that is it for now. Thank you very much, sir.